Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Yeah, it's like almost like everything's going reverse now. Everybody's getting back to like the primal ways of things. Like even like eating, dieting and stuff. Everybody wants to go primal now.
Yeah. Well, I think we've just come to a point where we're like, all right, we have every amenity that you can have in life, but we're not happy. And why is that? You know what I mean? Like, why is everyone so like anxious and miserable all the time? Well, maybe it's because like we're meant to, do a little bit more outside and with our hands, and the energy's got to go somewhere.
Well, you do a lot of stuff with your hands and your body and all that, which is fighting, you know what I mean? So let's get into this. November 9th, you're back in action. Da'Mon Blackshear, I think like he's a very good opponent for you, because he's faced a lot of really good dudes just like yourself. Like, what are your thoughts on him, man?
Yeah, he's tough. He's tough. He's good everywhere. Like his kickboxing's good, his wrestling's good, his jiu-jitsu's good. I don't really see like any like glaring holes in his game. I think he comes in pretty good shape. Like he's gonna be tough. He's gonna be tough, man. I'm gonna have my hands full of this kid. Like there's no doubt about it. I don't know though. I think I can shut his lights off. I think I can hit him with something good and maybe send him to a different realm for a few minutes. Definitely think I could.
Well, that's what happened. That's what happened his last fight, man. 18 seconds, dude. Like it was over that fast.
He gets. If there's one thing, it's one critique that I have is he gets a little overexcited in there. He kind of rushes in. You know what I mean? And I'm a vet. You can't do that against me. You know what I mean? And if you don't set stuff up and you don't do stuff smart, I'm gonna put your lights out. And I definitely think that, this is a competitive like fight. Like there's no question. I'm treating Da'Mon Blackshear like he's the best guy I've ever fought. And then my preparation is gonna be brutal, dude. I'm going through it right now. Like it's 6 weeks, a 6 week camp. Like there's no, there's no like grace period. There's no like, let's kind of ease into shit. It's like, no, dude, like I went from going on my honeymoon to like throwing a beer down and like, all right, now I gotta like go on a diet and get in shape and like I gotta be ready to fight in 6 weeks. So I mean, my life went like fast, and I'm in the thick of it right now. Like I'm doing 3 workouts a day, like just doing everything I can to be mentally and physically ready because I expect that him and I are both in similar positions. Both of our freaking nuts are right next to a bandsaw. So we both need to win. So I'm expecting that. Listen to this cat. Hey, shut up, dude! I'm doing something. I know we're expecting that. I'm expecting a war. I'm expecting this kid to bring everything he's got, and he better know that's coming back his way.
Yeah, congrats on the wedding and enjoying the honeymoon. And it's probably really good to like be in your honeymoon and then right after that get into a camp instead of having a period of time where you're just kind of like, what do I do with
like
my hands type
situation. Wander around aimlessly. Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, I can't say like I prayed for it. You know what I mean? November 9th is my birthday, and I was like, that'd be sick. It's here. You know what I mean? I'll go freaking knock someone's head off and then party. So like I can't think of a better birthday present to give myself than to go get in a real fight. Because I love this shit.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of fighters that fight on their birthday, they do really well.
Yeah,
like, I've seen that before.
Yeah. I feel like I mean, I'm not one of those guys that like throws a birthday party for myself. So like, my ideal birthday is like getting in a fight is, I've never done it before. That sounds awesome.
Perfect.
Normally I would like just go out in the woods and like go hunting, spend the whole day like by myself. Like that's my ideal like birthday. Like, oh, what do you want to do? I'm like, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. I'm out of here.
Off the grid. 6 weeks, man. Do you feel like 6 weeks is like, because I'm pretty sure you've been through all kinds of camps, like lengthwise, what I mean? Short notice, 12 weeks, 10 weeks, but 6 weeks, that could be the perfect time. Like you said, there's no period of like just grace period of anything. Like you're peaking at the perfect time. Is that 6 weeks for you?
Yeah, I actually love the idea of a 6 week camp just because I don't really have time to completely destroy myself the way like in the last one, I felt like coming off the surgery and being out for so long, I feel like I went way too hard. And like by the time the fight got around, I was just done. Like I was smoked. Like everybody was telling me to pull back, pull back. You need to chill out. You need to chill out. And I was just so just in my own head about being ready. You know what I mean? Because it'd been 12, 13 months since I'd fought. I just wanted to be so well prepared that I just overtrained. To the max. I like 6 weeks. I like 6 weeks because I don't really have, I don't have enough time to do that. If there's anything that I think I've consistently done wrong in my career, it's overtrain. Just doing a little bit more than I need to, and just not being as sharp, come fight night, just because I've done so much work. So yeah, I think 6 weeks should be the perfect amount of time. I already feel like I'm in really, really good shape. I could spar hard 3 rounds right now, and it'll just continue to build on that. And the last couple of weeks, I'm really gonna kind of chill out. So it's pretty much like 4 weeks of just balls to the wall, and then 2 weeks of just kind of making sure I'm hitting on all cylinders, and we're gonna go in there and getting a scrap.
Are the last couple of weeks more mental for a lot of fighters, and maybe for yourself, rather than
Yeah,
physical?
I think so. Just because, gearing up for the weight cut and gearing up for, the actual fight itself. If you don't take the time, and I've done it before, where you don't really take the time to, get yourself mentally prepared to go to those places. You know what I mean? Because fighting, it happens so fast. You need to be able to turn that switch on and be like the second, the second that bell rings, you need to be locked in. And I've had it where I didn't do the mental stuff to prepare, and I just came out kind of flat. And it wasn't until the second round where I was like, oh dude, I'm in the middle of a cage fight, I need to wake up. And then I've had it where I did too much mental work, or too much thinking about it, to where I'm like, the same thing. Like you go out there and you're like, okay, I've gone over all this in my head a million times. You know what I mean? So you got to find that balance, find out what works for you. It's just, dude. Fighting is a mental game. It is 1,000% a mental game, and it's there's so much that you can do, like to get yourself like physically ready to have the right reactions in a fight. But then, like you see it every weekend. There's a guy, he should win. You watched his last fight and it was spectacular. And then he comes out and you're just like, that's not the same guy I watched last time. And it's just, like we all have bad days at the office. It's just about finding, and doing those things that, like make you tick, make you, force you to like be in those moments and really, really like be in the fight. It's a mental battle, and I've made, I feel like, every mistake that an athlete can make, like in terms of, too much thought about the fight, not enough thought about the fight, being too relaxed, being too anxious, just everything that you can do. And so I'm kind of approaching this one, the way I've approached other fights I've been super successful in, and I'm just like, fuck it, let's just go out there and let them fly. You know what I mean? Like, let the best man win. Like, let's just throw punches and see if we can take this dude out. And like obviously, it's a double-edged sword, but like that's what I feel like I need to do, like for my mentality and for my career. And I don't I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna let it fly and see where everything shakes out.
Yeah, you've been in that position before in the UFC. This is your 15th fight with the UFC. That's a fucking milestone right there,
Yeah,
man.
that's a
Not
lot of
many
fights.
people are lasting that
That
long.
bantamweight too, man. Like, I was in the top 10 6 months into the division. So I had to just, it was just killer after killer after killer. I just kept thinking I was going to get a break. You know what I mean? Like, man, just give me somebody out, give me somebody else. And it just never really happened. Just because I beat some tough guys in the beginning, in my first few years in the UFC. So after that, I was like, all right, well, this guy will, he'll obviously say yes to anybody, which I have. I've said yes to every single opponent. I fought like two UFC champions, in my first 5 UFC fights. So it's like, it's actually, when I look back, I'm like, man, I really I maybe should have said no to some fights a little earlier on, but I don't have that in me. Like, somebody wants to scrap, let's do it.
For sure. The last 2 fights, I mean, like, there's a lot of there's a lot you can take away from the last 2 fights. There's 30 minutes of cage time in there. I feel like, you didn't get the result that you wanted, but I feel like you leveled up facing guys like that, 2 different styles as well. What's your perception of the last 2 fights?
I mean, the last two fights, I look at like Douglas DeAndrade, and I can't like look back at that fight and be like, man, that guy beat me. I don't. I mean, in my heart, I just don't feel like I lost that fight. I definitely made a mistake. You know what I mean? When I dropped him the second time, like he was smoked. Like I should have. You know what I mean? I jumped in his guard, and I should have just stayed on top of him and just beat him until the ref pulled me off him. And that, like that mistake, it ate me alive because I was just like, what? Like I don't normally make those kind of mistakes. Like if I hurt somebody, like they're getting out of there. And like making that mistake just ate me up. And this last one, man, against Lapalus, I really feel like I kind of went the other way. Like I was just like I was trying to force the action too much, because he was just slowly just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And it had been 13 months since I've been in the cage, and I was just like, all right, fuck it, let's go. You know what I mean? And he's a really good counterpuncher, and he was catching me, on the way in. So kudos to him because he fought brilliantly, and I just didn't, And I threw the game plan out the window and just tried to make it a backyard brawl, and you can't do that against somebody that's a technical striker, So in this fight, I'm gonna fight my fight, you know what I mean? Which means, I'm gonna counterpunch, I'm gonna go forward, I'm gonna wrestle, I'm gonna do everything that I know how to do to win. And what else can I do to this cat? Hey, shut up. Dude, she's going nuts.
Lisa listens.
Yeah, kind of. For a second.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Like watching those fights, you could really see, some things that you can learn from. You know what I mean? And like this fight coming up, it's like a really good opponent, like you said, a good stylistic matchup. Yeah, man. What are your expectations though in this one? Like you said, you expect to be all over the place because he can wrestle too. He can
Yep.
strike. He's a really well-rounded fighter, just like
Yeah.
yourself.
He is. He is. Yeah. I mean, I'll say I don't know where this fight's gonna end up. You know what I mean? If there's opportunities to take him down, like let's grapple. I think he's probably gonna be the first guy to shoot. I think he'll probably shoot on me first. I've seen him shoot early in fights, like pretty consistently throughout his UFC career, from what I watched. So I think he's probably gonna force the grappling exchanges, which, okay, you know what I mean? Like I don't mind getting into a wrestling match with somebody. Like I feel like if you start wrestling with me, like eventually I'm gonna end up on top. So I'm game to wrestle. I'm game to kickbox for 15 minutes. I really love that it's at the apex. It's in that small cage. You know what I mean? Because he's a long guy, and in those giant cages, those long guys, they can run. They can hit you and take off. And so it's tough to reach those longer dudes, in a big cage. But in a little cage, like he's got nowhere to go. You know what I mean? Like his reach is great, but like 2 steps and you're on the cage. You know what I mean? So like he's going to be forced to like fight me in my face. You know what I mean? So I'm expecting a lot of grappling. I'm expecting a lot of big exchanges. And yeah, I'm just going to try to swag out on this dude and put him to sleep, cash a check, and hopefully this we get off this little skid and get back to some real work.
The new rules, they'll come into effect in November. So this event will allow you to throw 12 to 6 elbows. What do you think of that?
I mean, I think the big one is like the hands down. You know what I mean? Like that one's huge. The 12 to 6 elbow thing, like this is a 12 to 6 elbow, but if you go like this, it's like it's not. You know what I mean? So I mean, if you have any, you know what I mean, unless your arm is going completely straight, if you like bend it the tiniest bit, which those elbows, you don't really necessarily see those elbows that often anyways, you know what I mean, in terms of like 12 to 6, maybe just like in the guard, which, like it's so hard for a ref even to like call that because, the elbow, like your hand's going all over the place when you're elbowing somebody. So it's like, oh, was that a 12 to 6? It's like by the time it happens, it's kind of too late for the ref to even do anything. But the 2 hands, being able to hit someone in the face with the 2 hands down, like that rule will change a lot of exchanges. Like guys are going to have to guys are going to have to change the way they approach a lot of situations, like on the cage in wrestling exchanges. You know what I mean? Just because, most guys, put their hands on the ground and they pop up, and now you put your hands on the ground, someone can knee you in the face. So it's definitely, and we started training for that like 2 months ago, because we're like, all right, this is going to change. Like, we need to be like ahead of the curve, just knowing that, probably when, me and the rest of the guys I train with end up fighting, by the time we fight, like, the rule will probably already be changed. Like, let's get ahead of this now. And I can see where, if like you're not necessarily prepared for that, it could definitely, like, in an exchange, like, it could definitely, come into a factor in some fights. But I think more so than the 12-6, that hand down rule will actually kind of be something that guys can kind of add to their game in a spot where they can, like, really hurt somebody.
Yeah, especially if you got like the body lock from
Mm-hmm.
behind and the guy's getting up, like you could just straight up plant like
Yeah.
time a kick to the head
Yeah.
and it's all legal, which is
Yeah.
great. I think it's great. It's more possible ways to finish a fight.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I was reading some weird statistic about, like, the new gloves. They were talking about the new gloves.
Yeah.
They were talking about, like, the finishing rate has gone down significantly since the new gloves. Like, I hope the UFC actually brings the old gloves back, because I'm not a huge fan of the new gloves. They're super stiff. Like, it's really hard. It's almost like your hand is almost it. It's I guess it's harder to, like, bring your fingers out, but also it's harder to make a
Mhm.
fist. So you're kind of like in this in between. Like, if you really want to punch somebody hard, you need to make, like, a really solid hard fist. So it's hopefully they do something with the gloves. They change the gloves, or they resort back to the old gloves. I don't know if they will, but I think that is like is a big factor. I mean, I know for me in my last fight, like, I couldn't make a grip. Like, the gloves were so tight,
Uh,
I really couldn't wrestle at all, because I couldn't, like, grip my hands together. So those little things that you don't really even think about, can be such a huge factor, like, in a fight. And this rule change, you could see some pretty crazy stuff if people aren't, preparing for the rules to change a bit.
for sure. I haven't heard any fighter tell me that the gloves are good. None of them.
No,
They
no,
all
I
tell me
mean,
the same thing.
yeah, it's the crazy thing is like, and I mean, I signed like an NDA before, like, when I tested the gloves out. And, like, I tested a prototype glove out. That was the best MMA glove I've ever put on my hand. Like, it was beautiful. And I don't know if, like, it was like the same design of what they have now, but they changed the leather. They did something. They changed something, because the gloves that we have aren't the same as the ones that I tested, that I really, really liked. And I think, everyone that I talked to that tested them too was like, they were like, yeah, dude, those gloves are sweet. Like, I can't wait till the new gloves come out. And then, like, the new gloves come out, and then, like, they're not the ones that they're like a little bit different than the ones that we tested. So I'm not sure what happened there, but hopefully they can square it up, or they just go back to using the old gloves, because, I mean, let's be honest, like, those work. Those gloves worked.
Well, they need to listen to the fighters, man. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
That's number one. They're the fighters are the ones using the gloves, not people
Yeah.
that are watching
Yeah, I
the
mean, we
fights.
should be
So
able to, like, choose, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
maybe we want to use the old gloves. I mean, I don't know. Like, they're all 4-ounce gloves, you know what I mean? They
mhm,
all hurt when you get hit with them. So,
yeah. Yeah, like, even if you take the glove and just slap somebody in the face with the glove, not even put it on, just,
yeah.
slap 'em,
Oh,
that
man,
shit hurts like
I'm telling you, I always, like, tell people, they're like, man, what do those gloves feel like? I'm like, they're like rocks.